Alright, y'all, welcome back to another video. Just like we did for Season 0 with Doom's Rise, I'm going to be reading you guys the full gallery for the Eternal Nightfalls, which is Season 1 of Marvel Rivals. It's pretty much at a close. Season 2 will be with us in a couple days, actually. But yeah, we'll dive right in and kind of go over these stories and see how the lore has progressed in the game. Alright, the first one right here, Eternal Nightfalls. Bad news, loyal readers. We're bringing you yet another morningless morning edition of New York's finest newspaper, the Daily Bugle. Why? Because our beloved borough has been trapped in a state of never-ending night for who knows how long. That's why. As publisher of this peerless periodical, it's up to me, J. Jonah Jameson, to provide you with all the info you need to know to navigate the perpetual pitch. So here's the scoop. Our intrepid reporters still don't have a solid source willing to admit that caused Manhattan to become an empire of eternal night. But anonymous scientists have independently confirmed that a massive wave of chronal energy washed over our planet shortly before things went dark. Coincidence? I think not. Like something out of a bad horror movie, our city streets are now being stalked by vampires. You heard me right. These bloodsuckers have been draining veins faster than my libel lawyers drained my bank account. Our former friends and neighbors are quickly turning into our worst enemies. Rumor has it that Dracula himself has taken up residence in Central Park. Sounds a bit far-fetched to me, but if the Cape Creeper really is organizing an army, we'd all be better off relocating to New Jersey. And those aren't words this lifelong New Yorker types easily. So where are all the superheroes? Eyewitnesses have identified members of the Fantastic Four coming and going regularly from the stronghold in the Baxter Building. As always, the Richards family is on the front line of the crisis, and we here at the Bugle applaud them for their selfless service. Tony Stark recently issued a press release claiming that he and Reed Richards are collaborating on a number of innovative solutions to restore New York to its former glory as quickly and efficiently as possible. However, my source on the inside suggests that these two big brains may be at odds when it comes to exactly how they plan to end this endless night. Reed wants to save everyone, while Tony is still calculating how many losses are acceptable. My vote goes with Richards. Other heroes have been patrolling the streets, rescuing citizens stupid enough to wander beyond the safety of their apartments. Squirrel Girl, Moon Knight, Cloak and Dagger, you name them. They're probably out there risking their lives to save yours. So for once, I'm willing to put aside my personal distaste for costume crusaders and say thank you on behalf of the people of New York to all of those fighting the good fight. Except for one. I have it on very good authority that the less than amazing Spider-Man dodged his duties and swung through a portal to save a spider party with his friends in the far-flung future. I'll see if my favorite photographer, Peter Parker, can get me a solid snapshot of that webbed weirdo abandoning his adoring public. That's it for now, fearless readers. We'll have plenty more news for you tomorrow, if tomorrow ever comes. J. Jonah Jameson, publisher. Alright. So as we can see, this is kind of where the story initially started, with Dracula, coming into New York and all the superheroes around the area having to take charge and figure out how to stop him from terrorizing them and spreading this whole vampire plague around, Reed and Iron Man being at odds, that's something interesting. It also makes sense that Squirrel Girl was named in this specifically because she is you start off in her house in the level. I think is it called Eternal Nightfalls or something like that. But the level with Dracula and Squirrel Girl's house or whatever. Obviously, you start off in Squirrel Girl's house, and you free Ratatasker, and you get to Dracula's castle, and so on and so forth. So it is kind of interesting to see, and I do know that one side. So from what I've heard of, one side is like the Tony Stark side, and one side is the Reed Richards side, because one side is trying to give the antidote and eradicate the vampire plague, and the other one is trying to eradicate the vampires in general, which the vampires are also people, so it's not really good for the people, right? All right. Next one. Okay, at your service. Welcome to the Baxter Building. I am a humanoid experimental robot B-type integrated electronics, but you can call me Herbie. I understand that you must have an urgent matter that requires immediate attention if you are willing to brave the streets of New York to seek out the Fantastic Four's assistance. Unfortunately, all our personnel are momentarily occupied dealing with other crises. Dr. Reed Richards, designate Mr. Fantastic, is in his laboratory working on the prototype of a time stream reintegration device with the help of Tony Stark, designate Iron Man. If the device functions as planned, it could theoretically undo the damage caused to the multiverse by the time stream entanglement. There is even hope it will break the curse that has locked New York City in a state of perpetual night. However, despite his ability to elongate his physical form, I fear Dr. Richards may finally be stretching himself too thin of late. Susan Richards, designate Invisible Woman, is currently on a reconnaissance mission in Central Park, seeking out information on the organizational structure of the vampire army that has invaded the island of Manhattan during this period of prolonged darkness. Her unparalleled stealth abilities have allowed her to gather critical intel on our new foes, putting her directly in the face of grave danger far more frequently than the rest of her family would like. Her brother, Jonathan Storm, designate Human Torch, is on patrol with Spider-Man, identity classified, rescuing civilians who have fallen into peril and recruiting other heroes who have yet to join our cause. Now that the sun no longer rises, Johnny's flames have made him the center of attention wherever he goes, exactly as he had always hoped to be. He has become a beacon of hope to many in those dark times, and a constant warning to any creatures of the night who might dare to oppose him. Benjamin Grimm, designate the Thing, is on a supply run in Lower Manhattan. His expert piloting skills have recently proven nearly as useful as his super strength and rock-hard skin. He has managed to single-handedly save hundreds of lives while retrieving vital equipment and valuable samples, including rare chronovium crystals for Dr. Richards to analyze. With all members of the Fantastic Four indisposed, that leaves me to run daily operations here at the Baxter Building. While I wish I could offer to support you in the field, I am afraid that the few times I have ventured beyond these walls have not gone as smoothly as hoped. Unless Dr. Richards upgrades my offensive capabilities or identifies a mission with objectives that only I can complete, I do believe it would be best for both of us to remain within the safety of these walls until a qualified individual becomes available to assist you. Thank you for your patience. Please take a seat in our lobby with the other civilians who have come to seek our aid. You are currently number 1,961 on the wait list. Okay. So, with Herbie here, this actually makes a lot of sense in the New York level where you escort Herbie and take him to. I think you're taking him to another tower, another building. But this totally makes sense with the time stream entanglement and all that stuff that's happening. The buildings are constantly kind of restructuring and changing. The Fantastic Car with Herbie is kind of slowly, following the path through the streets, going into the subway and all that stuff. So it is cool to kind of get an explanation on why things are happening the way they're happening in real time. This was also kind of later in the battle pass, so I'm kind of curious as to why it wasn't a lot sooner, because we got that level before the Dracula level came out. So I would have liked to have known this a lot sooner. But, hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? At least we got something. All right, the next one. Oh, it's a picture of Dracula. He dropping some blood on a crystal. Oh, is that Dr. Doom? Okay. Thicker than blood. Tell me why you have come here. You are a long way from Latveria. I brought you a gift. From one king to another. A tribute befitting the Lord of the Vampires. A gift from Victor Von Doom. Ha! Do you think me a fool? Another one of your era's pathetic supervillains whose loyalty can be purchased with mere baubles? I am Dracula. I have reigned over the night for centuries. And with this crystal, perhaps the reign could become permanent, as could the night itself. Ah, now you have piqued my curiosity, Master One. Do tell me more. What you hold in your hand is called chronovium. It was born from an experiment of mine that caused the very fabric of time and space to unravel and reweave itself in unexpected ways. As the chrono energy released and the process stabilized once again, it took the crystalline form. Shards of pure time. Fascinating. Oh, I went a little bit too far. Not as fascinating as what could be achieved with this gem by one such as yourself. I've studied both the scientific data and the ancient text. If my theory is correct, a single drop of blood from an immortal being such as yourself could unlock the vast power held within this crystal. You could gain complete control over time. In a limited area, imagine a modern metropolis locked in a state of unending darkness, becoming a permanent feeding ground for your minions, an empire of eternal night where you rule supreme. How lovely that would be, if it were true. But I have never been given reason to trust your words before, Doom. Why would I begin now? Because we both have much to gain from this arrangement. If you were to choose New York as your new domain, your legion of followers would keep the so-called superheroes who dwell there fully occupied. It would allow us both the freedom to pursue our greater goals. What greater goal is there than eternal night? An existence where your people can walk in the daylight without any fear or harm. And with the proper spell pulled from the pages of the Darkhold and enhanced by the power of this crystal, I believe that dream can become a reality. The vampiric verses? Indeed. I am not naive, Victor. There is something more you are not yet revealing to me. Doom never reveals all, but I promise you on the soul of my mother, this is not an act of deception. What I have offered you will come to pass, should you choose it to. And all it takes is one drop of blood, you say? Just one drop. I do believe I can spare that much. After all, the streets of New York will be running red with it soon enough. Okay, thicker than blood. So again, going back to, it makes a lot of sense why Dracula, well, we have a level with Dracula. He's obviously kind of like the big bad for this season, alongside Doom, who's kind of been the big bad since the game's inception. He's kind of the one that caused this whole thing, the time stream entanglement or whatever, right? So it makes sense that he's dealing with another big bad, and now we have the Eternal Night, which caused all the vampires, and the battle between the brains, trying to figure out, hey, are we just going to kill all these vampires, or are we going to cure them all and and fix everything? So, okay, these great evils have decided to come together. Next, okay. I don't know who's on the other side of that, but this side is Doctor Strange. I don't know who that is. Okay. Oh, it's Khonshu. Okay. I'm like, who the hell? But I see. Okay, that's Khonshu right there. That's crazy. Okay. Ancient game. Ever since I started hanging around with my pal Stephen Strange, he's always told me the same thing. Bats, he says, being the sorcerer supreme of the dimension means that I do not have the time for games. But I guess that was just something he made up to get out of playing fetch with yours truly. Because apparently, when there's a high-stakes game to be played for the fate of all reality, the doctor is all in. See, a while back we got paid a visit by another so-called doctor, of what I'm not really sure. This one called himself Doom. He wanted to get his hands on one of the spell books in Strange's library, but this tome, a book of black magic called the Darkhold, was strictly off limits. Doom wasn't thrilled about that fact, and Steven had a feeling that his fellow doctor was bound to come knocking again. Strange decided that their safest option would be to open a rift between realities and stash the Darkhold where no one would ever find it again. And this is where things get a little kooky even for a ghost dog like me. Time itself got turned upside down and Strange ended up lost in the astral plane for a hot minute. While he was there, he searched for the Darkhold to make sure it was still safe, but surprised, it had somehow fallen into the bony hands of an Egyptian moon god by the name of Khonshu. This bird-skulled freak had been protecting travelers in the night for centuries, and he thought the best way to keep doing that would be to use the Darkhold to eliminate the vampires that had overrun New York City. Not a bad plan, honestly, except for the fact that it would hurt thousands of regular folks who had been unwillingly turned to the dark side. Khonshu took Strange captive and tried to make the doc cast a nasty spell for him, but Strange knew he had to shut Khonshu down. Luckily, the Scarlet Witch had reminded Steven that Khonshu loved a good game of Senet, which is some kind of fancy Egyptian board game, like chess. Even better, Khonshu wasn't particularly great at the game. Seriously, according to legend, he lost a match to some other god named Thoth, and forfeited his radiance as part of the wager. That's the whole reason the moon waxes and wanes. Look it up! Anywho, Strange played the game of his life, securing not only his freedom, but recovering the Darkhold as well. Funny part is, Steven used a strategy that Doc Doom himself unintentionally tipped him off to, moving his piece to the House of Truth space and drowning Khonshu's in the House of the Water, giving the Doc a chance for a major comeback. It was a big gamble, but one that paid off. And now that he's back safe and sound, I haven't even gone on his case about always turning me down whenever I want to play. The guy did save thousands of innocent lives after all. He deserves a free pass, this time. But you better believe it, the next time I ask him to toss a ball for me, I ain't taking no for an answer. Alright. I don't think there's anything in the game that I can recall, at least at the top of my head, that involves Doctor Strange and Khonshu specifically. But I do know that Bats is in the game. He is in that kind of like free-for-all stage. Which does take place in the Sanctum Sanctorum, I think? Or is that in the... something like that, yeah. I think it's in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Bats is walking around. You can, like, talk to him. I think there's even, like, an achievement for it or something like that. But, okay. I'll have to keep a lookout and pay attention more to see if I can see something involving Doctor Strange and Khonshu specifically, because I cannot recall seeing anything like that. Okay, next one. Ooh, is that Blade trying to fight Dracula? Oh, that Ratatasker. Okay, that's from the Dracula himself. Bunch of vampires and Blade. Okay, all right. Give me a sec. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to channel the blade. Name's Blade. Folks call me that because of the swords I used to slice the heads off every vampire I cross paths with. To be fair, I use a lot more than swords. Wooden stakes, silver bullets, hell, I'll use a squirt gun full of holy water if that's what it takes to put a finger down for good. I ain't picky. I've been hunting vamps my whole life, sending the undead back to their graves to make the night a safer place for the living. It ain't an easy job, but I'm one of the few with the skills or the guts to do it. When I heard that Dracula had some sort of master plan brewing, you can bet I jumped on the first red eye to Transylvania. Turns out, Drac wasn't home. He decided to make New York City his new stomping grounds, and he had a trick up his sleeve that even I didn't see coming. Somehow, that freak cast a spell that stopped the sun from rising, trapping Manhattan in a state of non-stop darkness. That made New York City the perfect place for his hungry horde to run wild 24/7. Even worse, it took away my biggest advantage. See, I'm half vampire, half human. I've got all the powers of a regular vamp, plus the bonus of being able to walk and hunt in broad daylight. But when the dawn don't ever come, well, it means my usual way of doing things ain't gonna cut it anymore. Found that out the hard way when I got back to New York. I sliced a trail through an army of fangers straight to Central Park. Dracula already had a fortress there, and I was itching to pay him a visit. Turns out he knew I was coming, and wanted to give me a proper welcome. That pacey creep ambushed me, and even though I fought for my life alongside Spider-Man and the Human Torch, he got the upper hand and hauled me away to the dungeon beneath his castle. Gotta say, it was a smart move on his part. When you know who your biggest threat is, you take them out first, right? That's why I was going after Drac. And the fact that he felt the same way about me is kind of an honor. And it would be if I weren't shackled to that wall in this rat-infested cesspit. I ain't the only one Dracula needed out of the way either. Apparently there's some Asgardian squirrel named Ratatasker whose enhanced horn can end the life of whatever it pierces, no matter how immoral. Drac summoned that magic squirrel to Earth and locked it up in chains too. With his most dangerous foes off the board, Dracula's minions have free reign of the city. Sure, there are other heroes trying to take him down, but the numbers are in Drac's favor. All I can do is wait and hope that someone eventually sets me free. It's the fall of Midtown. Okay, alright. So, this is interesting because as we all know, Blade was kind of like a pivotal, like it was a big deal seeing him in the game at all. He was in the level itself, in the little Dracula level. And you see him in chains. I think he's like the second or the last point to reach or whatever. You see him in like some little room. There's like fog walls, and you have to touch them to like teleport to like back to the battle area or whatever, right? But he's been locked up, and which is crazy that he was locked up during Black History Month. That shit was wild. But I mean, hey, again, beggars can't be choosers. So that is interesting to see. That he tried to fight Dracula right away with Spider-Man and Human Torch, which like makes me think like, how did they not get the upper hand on Dracula, and how did they let him go away? But hey, sometimes people don't be having your back like that. I'm not saying Spider-Man and Human Torch aren't good superheroes. I'm just saying, if it was me out there, I'd have been throwing them things. You can't take my homeboy, not like that, not like this, not in shackles during Black History Month. Absolutely the fuck not. Anyway, all right, the next one. I know that's Black Panther. That's his newest costume. A bunch of vampires. We've got Wolverine. We've got Adam Warlock. We got Moon Knight. We've got Psylocke, Iron Man, and we've got Bucky Barnes, Senator. But it looks like, I'm pretty sure this was like Black Panther under some type of control or something like that. Obviously by Dracula, and the rest of the heroes are out here trying to stop him and the Horde from doing whatever they're doing. Let's check it out. Read. Midnight Missions. Oh, is this Moon Knight? What? Don't know if you can hear me right now, Khonshu. It's never been like you to actually listen to anyone's prayers. But if by some strange chance this is one of the rare moments where you decided to give a damn, you might as well know that your Moon Knight has been doing what your Moon Knight has been doing in your name. You sent me here to New York City to continue your sworn mission, keeping travelers in the night safe from peril. And that's been no easy task now that the entire city has been overrun by vampires. But luckily, I'm not the only one who's been looking to bust up Dracula's blood-sucking brood. Your knight has formed his own round table. We've been calling ourselves the Eternity Knights. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? It all started out when Iron Man and I came to the mutual realization that some of the other heroes we'd aligned ourselves with wouldn't be willing to get their hands or their costumes dirty. They're also hung up on the idea that some of these vamps used to be innocent civilians. They aren't willing to accept the notion that every war has casualties. It's like you always taught me, vengeance comes at a steep cost, so does victory. Stark came around to my way of thinking pretty quickly, but not everyone followed suit. The Fantastic Four and that annoying girl with all the squirrels were too squeaky clean to do what needed to be done. So while they're up in their ivory tower trying to figure out ways to save everyone, we're down on the streets doing the real work, saving as many lives as we can, and ending the ones that can't be saved. Some of my crew are proud to be doing what we do so well. Wolverine and the Winter Soldier wear the ichor like it's a badge of honor. So does a new girl with a giant sword that speaks Japanese. She may be a better hunter than I am, but others don't want their reputations to be tarnished by blood we're spilling. Good thing Stark has an endless flow of cash and a knack for design. After some recent experiments, he incorporated chronovium into his armor specs, tapping into its ability to rewind time. The results were some epic new suits with a gothic aesthetic that hits all the right notes and faces. We may not be the only ones sporting new threads, though. We recently ran across a group of ants near my hideout in Greenwich Village that were being led by a man in fancy white armor, and I could have sworn I recognized him from somewhere. Whoever he was, he looked like he was ready to give old Dracula a run for his money when it comes to leadership and over the vampire army. And when he does, I want to be there to watch. In the meantime, I'll be here, keeping the streets safe and doing your dirty work for you, just like a good fist of Khonshu does. As long as the moon stays out, your night will be at your service, whether you're listening or not. Okay, alright. So that makes sense as far as all the costumes and all that stuff. Don't ask me why it was like real raspy and like kind of low. That's just what I saw in my head. And even when I'm looking, I play the game a lot. I'm Celestial. I play the game a lot. The moon haunts you. Like that's not raspy and low, like whispery. I don't know what the fuck that was. That's just where my head went. Please don't ask me why it went there. But okay, obviously he was talking about Black Panther in the white costume. He didn't say for sure if Dracula was in control of him or not, so I am curious about what that was about and how that even ended up happening in the first place. Again, the costumes, there is that whole, gothic aesthetic going on. There's pretty much everybody that was pictured has some kind of costume, which like some of them are cool. I don't really like all of them. It's not really my thing. It's not my shtick, but some of them are cool though. Some of them are cool. Definitely the Wolverine one. It gives me like a Van Helsing vibe, so that one was actually pretty cool. But all right, that's Midnight Missions. That is Iron Man, and it looks like he's about to fire something at Reed Richards, and Stephen Strange is behind Reed Richards. Okay, it's a lot going on here. Reed. This is going to be kind of tough because I don't really know. I'm just going to read this because all the voices, it's like reading like a story, and I know they're talking back and forth, but I don't want to read all like the Mr. Fantastic gasp or whatever, right? Maybe if I had some help in the future, maybe we'll incorporate some other voices going on, Turning the pages. The Baxter Building, Reed Richards Laboratory. We've done it, Reed, Dr. Strange exclaimed. Almost all the pages of the Darkhold are back in our hands once more. And according to my calculations, Mr. Fantastic replied, the chrono energy that's been grafted to them should be sufficient enough to get the time stream reintegration device running. All we need to do is extract a time essence from each page and... Not so fast, fellas, a voice unexpectedly interrupted over the Baxter Building's comm system. Last I checked, the TRD was a joint effort, and Tony Stark has never been one to miss a product launch. Tony? Mr. Fantastic gasped. We cannot let him stand in our way, Dr. Strange said. With a quick gesture of his hands, the ancient pages of the Darkhold began to swirl around him in a mystical frenzy. Get those pages into the Chronos cipher now, Stephen, Mr. Fantastic ordered. I'll deal with our uninvited guest. Deal with me? Iron Man laughed over the speaker. And how are you going to do that? By building an untested device and activating it before it's got enough energy to actually get the job done? Oh wait, you're already doing that. You know full well that we don't have the time to wait until everything is perfect, Tony, Mr. Fantastic said. The time stream entanglement has to be undone, and the TRD will get the job done. I've crunched all the numbers. But somehow you've lost count of the seconds, Iron Man said, because I'll be there to stop you from making your biggest mistake ever in 4, 3, 2... Before Iron Man could finish his countdown, Mr. Fantastic stretched his malleable body into a sheet-like barrier blocking off the entrance to his laboratory. 1! Iron Man yelled from the other side of the door. Mr. Fantastic grimaced as a barrage of repulsor beams hit him from behind. Though his elasticized form absorbed most of the impact, the pain was still excruciating. Reed! Dr. Strange shouted, deep concern showing on the Sorcerer Supreme's usually stoic face. I wasn't aiming for you, old friend, Iron Man said. You just got between me and my targets. The pages? Mr. Fantastic asked through gritted teeth, but Tony, they may be our only hope. I fully agree, Iron Man answered, but only if we have all of them, and Moon Knight tells me we're missing two of the most powerful spells in the book, the Montesi formula and the vampiric verses, Doctor Strange said knowingly. Bingo, Iron Man replied. Without those in the mix, the chance of the TRD failing increases beyond a margin of error I'm willing to accept. So tell me, Reed, are you still going to get to bet the fate of our universe and countless others on a device that isn't ready? Mr. Fantastic paused, then uttered a phrase that he couldn't recall leaving his lips in ages. I don't know. Alright. So this kind of explains things as far as like how they want to operate with dealing with the vampire problem. You know, why they referenced Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic earlier and kind of butting heads about the whole thing. At least that's what J. Jonah Jameson was saying. Um, and then Doctor Strange with the Darkhold and all that stuff. I didn't even realize the Darkhold. Oh, that's I think at the end of the the Dracula level, I believe one of the endings, you know, for victory and defeat is there's one version where it's like Moon Knight, and I don't know if the Darkhold comes out for that one or if it's the other one that happens where. Yeah, I think it's that one. I think it's the Moon Knight, and then the Darkhold pops out or whatever, and everything gets changed or fixes it or whatever. And then I know the other one is like the Human Torch. I think like lights up like a fucking, you know, whatever, or something like. No, it's Ratatasker. I think. Right? Yeah. I think Human Torch thing. I think it's in this gallery. But anyways, yeah. So we're getting some more establishing of like, okay, this makes sense. This is why this is here, and this is why this is there. Okay, makes sense. Oh, this is the page that I was talking about. Okay, yeah, okay. This was definitely not in the level. This was the page. Human Torch going essentially supernova and just eradicating vampires, which are people, so he killed a bunch of folks, but hey, it is what it is. Reed, star turn. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a star, whether it was the hottest actor in Hollywood or the fastest driver on the racing circuit. I had this nagging feeling that the name Johnny Storm was destined to be a burn into people's minds forever. If I'd only known how right I was. When my sister's genius boyfriend Reed invited me to join him on a mission to space, I thought I'd found my ticket to fame. Johnny Storm, astronaut. Wasn't exactly the role I'd been prepping for my whole life, but traveling the stars seemed like a logical first step to stardom. The sky was the limit. When we crashed back to Earth, we had new cosmic powers that turned us from a group of explorers into a team of superheroes. People on the streets called me the Human Torch whenever I flamed on. But underneath the sheath of burning hot plasma, I was still good old Johnny Storm, and it was finally my time to shine. Being a member of the Fantastic Four skyrocketed me to celebrity status. I made the front page of the Daily Bugle at least once a week, and the gossip page at least 3 times. I nabbed a bunch of lucrative product endorsements, and I amassed a following of die-hard fans who hung on my every move. It was everything I ever wanted when I was a kid, but I've started to think that maybe it's not enough. See, between commercial shoots and nightclub openings, my day job has always been saving the world, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm really good at it. Or at least I was, until Dracula somehow cursed New York City and trapped it into constant darkness. The city's heroes have been fighting vampires and each other, as we've tried to find a solution, but nothing seems to be working, and frankly, I'm feeling a bit burnt out. But there may still be hope. While Reed tinkers with some of time-fixing doohickey, my big sis Sue is taking the battle straight to its source. She found her way into Dracula's castle, and she's planning to lead a squad to finish the fight. But she's going to need a major distraction to pull it off. Good thing her baby brother has never been one to pass up some extra attention. If I push my powers to their limits, I can go supernova and buy Sue and her crew the time they need. And since I'll essentially become a mini sun for a hot second, I'll wipe out a ton of vampires in the process. Boy, do those jerks hit the sun. Yeah, I know the risks. At best, I'm going to lose consciousness. At worst, well, let's just hope the Bugle writes me a good obituary. And it better be on the front page, above the fold. Because if Johnny Storm goes down, it's going to be as the star he was always meant to be. So, okay, Johnny's going to buy Sue a lot of time to do whatever she's going to do. I know they were talking about her, you know, being in danger and kind of being there on the front lines because her stealth capabilities are, you know, unmatched. Obviously, she's Invisible Woman, so nobody can really see her. I do wonder, though, if vampires can smell blood, and if that's the case, I feel like she's, like, full of it, and it's pumping constantly, so, like, it almost seems like it would be impossible for her to get that close, but, I mean, hey, who knows, you know? It's all, you know, imagination, it's like that. You don't want to bring too much, like, logic and, like, all that into it, but, yeah, okay, so he finna go supernova and turn it up. It looks like this is the final one, the final, little piece of the Eternal Night Falls. It looks like Doctor Strange has a Chronovium, and it looks like he is messing up the vampires and Dracula. I don't know what's going on here, but we're going to read into it. Plans within plans. A passage from the Book of Doom 2099. Doom rarely finds a reason to admit fault, but I must say I seem to have underestimated myself. When that bothersome past version of me, the one from decades ago, whose foolish meddling fractured the time stream, gave a powerful shard of Chronovium to the Lord of Vampires as part of a ploy to shroud New York City in darkness, I assumed he was merely playing games that were far beneath my notice. I should have realized that any Doom, even one lesser than I, always has a scheme in play that will unfold into something far grander with time. Despite his initial reservations, Dracula convinced himself that the Doom of his era was an ally to his cause, having provided him with the means to locate a missing page of the Darkhold containing the vampiric verses. With that incantation, Dracula believed he would be able to raise an infinite army of the undead that would spread across the world and feast until the end of days. Though Dracula knew in his black heart that Doom could not be trusted, he looked past his trepidations to achieve his own goals. It was an error in judgment that would prove fatal. Doom had deceived Dracula from the very start. My past self did indeed want Dracula to locate the vampiric verses, but not so that the Vampire King could create more children of the night. Instead, Doom wished to tap into the very essence of the immortality bestowed upon vampire kind through his arcane rite. By funneling that time-defying magic into the Chronovium, Doom believed he could create an even stronger form of the crystal, pure blood Chronovium. After all, if a single drop of the Dracula's blood infused into the shard, it can give the vampires an empire. Doom suspected that an endless supply of that same immortal energy would help him reshape the time stream as he saw fit, knowing full well that such machinations would be instantly opposed by the Sorcerer Supreme and his heroic allies. Doom could not risk his true plot being discovered, so he manipulated events from the shadows, letting Dracula and his minions dirty their hands as they unwittingly held Doom's greatest foes at bay. And once the vampiric verses were located, Doom changed his allegiance and secretly assisted the heroes in their efforts to defeat Dracula, all in order to claim his ultimate prize and work his ancient magic on the Chronovium. Surprisingly, Doom's plans turned out to be a resounding success, with every move unfolding just as he had orchestrated it. Outwitting everyone, Doom stood triumphant with the pure blood Chronovium in his iron grip. Even I was impressed. But he is not the only Doom with grand plans in motion, and while he may have ended this round with a win, I will soon prove to him that he is but a mere glimmer of the man he is destined to become. Now, if you'll excuse me, Doom has a gala to attend. Okay, the deeper, darker criminal link. Alright. So, remember the time entanglement was caused by Doom 2099, and I guess his past self. Well, I guess the past self more so, but like they were kind of like opposing forces and all that stuff too, right? This ending part is extremely interesting because now, if you excuse me, Doom has a gala to attend is a direct reference to Season 2, which the theme of Season 2 is the Hellfire Gala. So all the superheroes, or not all of them, but like a lot of the characters we have and whatnot, they're going to be having some fly gear. You know, I sent a Captain America skin. They got Emma Frost is coming to the fold. So, you know, everybody's already, oh my gosh, Emma Frost, lit. She's a snow bunny Amazon and whatnot. You know, the jiggle figures are going crazy. They got the outfit for Cloak and Dagger. They got the outfit for, who else has an outfit? There's some fly ones I remember seeing. Iron Fist gets a new outfit. There's a lot of people that are getting costumes in the Season 2 Battle Pass for sure, and a lot of them are surrounding the whole Hellfire Gala event. So that is going to be exciting to see. You got a huge image here. That's Iron Fist, Star-Lord, and Black Widow, and some kind of like, I don't know if this is like a, what's that Spring Festival, but I assumed it was like Chinese New Year or something like that, because you got like the dragon and all that stuff, you know, cool decorations and whatnot, or whatever, right? All right. I'm going to just read this one regular. I'm going to do voices because it got the whole, like, it's a lot easier to read this when it's like just someone is specifically talking and that's it, but when it's like they said and they're talking about other stuff, it's just like a little bit harder, whatever. But anyway, beautiful, isn't it, buddy? Star-Lord asked as he joined a solitary figure on the balcony of the Wakandan royal palace. That endless field of stars up there, there's no place I'd rather call home. Peter Quill wasn't wrong. The intergalactic empire of Wakanda was a truly glorious sight to behold. Yet still, Lin Lai, is it Lin Lai? Okay. The immortal Iron Fist couldn't help but let out a sigh of dismay as he gazed at the celestial bodies glimmering above burning T'Challa. The strange events of the time stream entanglement had swept these unlikely allies into an epic conflict that had dragged Lin Lai light years, and perhaps entire dimensions away from both his home on Earth and his adopted home in the fabled city of Kunlun. The heroes he'd encountered along the way had embraced him as one of their own, but Lin Lai still felt like an outsider, now more than ever. Even though the time stream was a mess, Lin Lai still knew that it was almost a spring festival back in China. By now, lanterns would be hung and dragons would be dancing in the streets. Knowing that he would miss this beloved celebration weighed heavy on his heart. I get it, Star-Lord said, placing a hand on Lin Lai's shoulder. I don't think I've ever felt as alone as I did on my first holiday away from Earth, but you've got friends here, and we're not about to let you miss out on all the fun. Before Lin Lai could protest, Star-Lord led him through the palace to a workshop where Princess Shuri stood waiting. Wakanda is a nation steeped in tradition, Shuri said, but a true empire respects the traditions of all those who have helped to make it stronger. What Her Royal Katniss is saying, Star-Lord interrupted, is that we're throwing our own little spring festival in your honor. I don't know what to say, Lin Lai stammered. He hadn't realized that his allies were even aware of his customs, let alone that they would go out of their way to help him observe them. Say, I didn't spend the last few days gathering intel about Chinese celebrations for nothing, the Black Widow said, entering the room to join her fellow heroes. Not at all, Lin Lai replied. It would be my honor to share this special time of year with you, all of you. Then let the festivities begin, Shuri said, activating a hologram that depicted an arena clearly designed for sport rather than combat. Soon the image morphed to show elaborate costumes, each one incorporating cultural influences that sent Lin Lai's mind really back home. For a mere moment, his thoughts were no longer on the battle to save time and space, nor on his duty to protect Kunlun and the refugees in the 8th city. Instead, Lin Lai simply felt the joy of the season, and of friends who had helped bring it to him, all the way on the other side of the galaxy. Oh, that's nice. Some nice people. I do wonder then, because Shuri has also been referenced in some Season 0 stuff, if Shuri herself is going to be a character in the game. Whether that's like her with like the gauntlets like we saw in the Black Panther movie, or her as like a form of Black Panther in the future. That would be very interesting to see either of those iterations, but because like I said, she keeps being referenced. And I do remember there was a game mode where you could be Black Widow, Star-Lord, or Iron Fist. It was something akin to like Rocket League, like a kind of like soccer variant and whatnot. You could pass the ball to each other, kick the ball. Everybody had like one move and like some kind of mobility or whatever, and your goal was to go from one side to the other. So that was kind of cool. Check out that video if you haven't. Okay. One small step. I am not going to read this. Oh, maybe I'll try. When you're okay, let me channel. When you're like me, a cosmic entity with an expected lifespan of billions of years, time honestly isn't something you give a whole lot of thought to, at least not until it starts to unravel around you. It doesn't seem all that long ago that just last March, according to your human calendars, that your girl Galacta, that's me, first realized that something was going horribly wrong with the time stream. Entire dimensions had started collapsing into each other, and most of them weren't surviving the chronal chaos. The few that did weather the time storm, with a little cosmic intervention from yours truly, ended up being reborn into something all new and all different. I've been calling them chronoverses. Catchy, right? The year that's followed has been a blur. Heroes fighting heroes, dooms fighting dooms, vampires, killer robots. It's been a wild ride. And while you and like 30 million of your superpowered besties have been working overtime to keep your home reality safe, and to restore some order to the universe, I've been using the spare moments between battles to explore this strange new network of timelines, and what I've found has been pretty crazy. Over the course of my journeys, I've uncovered a lot of treasure trove of bizarre artifacts scattered across these newly entangled chronoverses, each one more fascinating and in some cases more delicious than the last. But the one that's wowed me the most is this weird hexagonal bubble that seems to be made from pure time energy. At first I thought it might make a tasty snack. After all, Chronovian crystals are made from time energy too, and I've been munching on those to keep my insatiable hunger satisfied for a while now. But before I could try to wrap my gigantic jaws around the bubble, the craziest thing happened. I stuck one of my Galactobots inside of it, and 5 more identical versions came back out with it. I have no idea how this thing works. I may be all-powerful, but I'm not all-knowing. But my guess is that its unique shape is working like a chronal prism, fragmenting one timeline into 6. The effects aren't permanent, but they do last long enough for us to have a little fun. That's why I decided to temporarily set up the time bubble and burn in T'Challa, right at the heart of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. As much as I've enjoyed watching you capture mission areas and escort vehicles, I figured you might be ready to mix things up a bit. So you're officially invited to my very own match, Clone Rumble. Like I said, I've never really paid much attention to time before, but if the Chronoverse doesn't have much of it left, we might as well do everything we can to enjoy what we got. May the best hero win, all of them, Galacta. All right, clearly I didn't sound anything like her, but that was my meager attempt at trying to sound like her. And again, she brought out the Clone Rumble. That was the game mode where you could, both teams voted on characters to be, and between the two characters that both teams decided on, you could select one of the two, or if you guys happened to pick the same characters, then it was just one character you could be. So the teams could be like, one team picked Captain America, the other team picked the Thing, and those were the two characters that you could be. You couldn't be anybody else. I think the only character you couldn't be was Doctor Strange, and I don't really know why that was the case. Like maybe it was like broken or something like that. But I remember him being blocked out of that for some reason. But yeah, so that's what this was. And there you have it, folks. Those are all the season 1 gallery editions. Again, Galactus Cosmic Adventure, the Spring Festival Special, and in serials, The Eternal Night Falls Volume 1. And that'll be the end of this video. As always, stay safe out there, and if you can't be safe, be deadly. Until next time, guys, peace out.